have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Right, we're on the air. It is the AEW recap at Square Circle Digest. Sean Stanley here on the Big O Radio Show YouTube channel. AEW in the books, and let me tell you something. That was a card that gets you hyped up for the pay-per-view. It started with Tony Khan making the announcement that he is now the owner of Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has already stated that they are making a comeback, which is April 1st, and I believe it was Denton, Texas is where the card was at, but now it's announced that Tony Khan, and I love the part when everybody, I guess, was saying Shane in the crowd, and he's like, no, there's no Shane here, it's just me, referencing back to the time when Vince McMahon bought WCW, but now Tony Khan, the owner of Ring of Honor, we're going to dive into that a little bit here in a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about the AEW Dynamite show tonight. I thought the show did exactly what it needed to do leading into a pay-per-view. It started, again, with the announcement of Ring of Honor being purchased by Tony Khan, and then they started it with the main event of one of the first Ring of Honors, which was Bryan Danielson against Christopher Daniels, and that led to set up for the Bryan Danielson, John Moxley match at the pay-per-view. I thought this AEW Dynamite did what it needed to do to get you ready and psyched up for a pay-per-view that is mere days away, right? Sunday. They're going to be in Orlando at UCF, the center there. You had, then after that, you had the tag team battle royal, which ended up coming down to FTR, the Young Bucks, and Top Flight, Darius Martin making his return back from ACL surgery. Thought they did a great job putting the spotlight on him and getting him all the way to the finals to have Matt Jackson. I believe it was Matt Jackson did the low blow, and now it will be the Young Bucks taking on Red Dragon, taking on Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy for the AEW tag titles at the pay-per-view. And Mike, ROH buy is interesting, but it was something that's been discussed, or at least I've heard rumors of some things, and I know the library is amazing. Going back to the early days, I mean, think about the wrestlers that were in Ring of Honor. I mean, everybody that's basically in WWE now. You had Kevin Owens was there, Bryan Danielson was there. Seth Rollins was there. Moxley was there. Claudio Castanero Cesaro was there. Sami Zayn was there. When you look at everything that they have, that library is going to be amazing. And the one thing that I thought of when they made the announcement that they're buying ROH. The next thing, I think the next step for them has got to be a streaming service, right? One of the streaming services. I was listening to Fightful Select earlier on, and I think Sean Ross Sapp kind of hit the nail on the head. Is like I think the next step for them now, especially with this content they have, plus all the content they built up the last 2 years and some there, is to take that next step, I think, and almost make like a network, not necessarily a WWE network, but you've got to have some kind of streaming service to get some money out of this purchase. And again, I don't know, what contracts are coming with it. I don't know any of that as well. But the one thing I think that AEW doesn't need is more talent right now. Honestly, with everything they've got going on right now, I think they have plenty of talent. I mean, you saw tonight they had to have a tag team battle royal. You had to have a 6-man at the end for the main event. You had to have the women's a tag team match there for them, just to get everybody, all the talent on the card to build up to a pay-per-view that's mere days away. So now, how much of the Ring of Honor talent? I saw Maria Kanellis did send out a tweet talking about the ROH women's division going there. Mike, could Impact be next? The TNA library is very good. It is very good. But I think that's the one thing that Impact kind of has going for them is that kind of makes them valuable, whereas I think they can stand on their own. Ring of Honor, I believe, was having a little bit of issues. They were purchased by Sinclair, and Sinclair put them on some channel at like midnight. I forgot what I think. I want to say it was Vice at like midnight. And it just, again, there's so much wrestling on right now. And a lot of the Ring of Honor stuff was recorded. And MLW, I know, is also now, I believe, on Vice as well. But I don't know if Impact would sell. I just don't think they're there yet. The other company that I think might be interesting, not that they have a lot, would be NWA. Again, and most of that library, the NWA library, is already sold to the one that's money making is there. But you wonder how much of this is going to come together with Tony Khan making these purchases. Because I mean, besides the video library, I don't know what Tony Khan gets out of this purchase. This is a company where right before the Christmas time or Thanksgiving, maybe it was Thanksgiving, they started letting wrestlers go out of their contracts, letting them know they were not going to run any more events until at least April of this year, which they are running an event in April, which I don't know if that's being done by Tony as well now, because there was like 3 or 4 talents announced. Swerve was announced, was one of them, and then a couple other talents were announced for that. So again, the buying of ROH is very interesting because they can go a lot of ways. And then also you have to remember, I don't know how this affects the Impact, where they were doing the thing with Ring of Honor. You had Mike Kanellis, you had oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank on the guy? Carl Lett, oh my goodness, PCO, and some others there that kind of invaded as the Ring of Honor. They're the Group of Honor or something like that. So how does that play into all this? So it's going to play out a lot. I did. There is a tweet that was sent out that I sent to myself that kind of goes over what was done for the thing. It said, it will be, again, they kind of went back into the history. More than 40 members of the AEW roster appeared in Ring of Honor during their careers. And it went on to say, the acquisition will be completed through entity that is wholly owned by Tony Khan. That's one of the things too, is that I thought when you look at it, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else that I had sent. But when you look at the purchase here, it includes the assets of Ring of Honor LLC from Sinclair Broadcasting Group, including the promotion's extensive video library dating back to 2002, brand assets, intellectual property, production equipment, and more. So, again, they've pretty much, what production equipment, I don't know what that production equipment is going to be, how they put this to use and can make it money for them. There's a good working relationship between Impact and AEW. There is a good working relationship there. That's the other thing why I don't think that that's going to be brought up, is I think there's just a good working relationship there between them. And also, I think NWA is going to end up figuring into this as well. Whereas I think when you have WrestleMania weekend, maybe not this year, but as you go, I remember back years ago, AWA tried this with, I believe it was World Class Championship Wrestling, maybe Mid-South or Mid-Atlantic. I don't know, one of those other, and they tried to do a super card at the same time that I remember it was Jerry Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich was the main event of it to crown, because at the time World Class and AWA were merging also. So they put on the super card, and that allowed for them to, to kind of start the Battle of the Belts. You know what? It may have been the Battle of the Belts, Mike. I'm not sure what they called it, but they had done it as a super card of wrestling type thing, where it was kind of going against AEW and all that. So I'm sorry, AEW, my goodness, against WrestleMania and some of those other things there. So again, Tony Khan, they're making all the right moves. And if you watch AEW, and I don't know that what it is, but they get your attention. Everything that AEW does means something. Duke Tomlinson, yeah, wrestling is fake. Yes. My separated shoulder, my knees and my hip, all fake. Thank you very much there, Duke. If you don't, you can see your way back out too. Is it choreographed? Do the finishes? Yeah. Is the falling and everything real? Yeah, it is. You can't fake that there, Duke. So thank you for your contribution there as well. I think it's hilarious, but it is a form of entertainment, yes, but fake it is not. It is predetermined, yes. Is choreographed, yes. Fake, no, not fake. And back to what I was saying was, one thing that AEW does to me is they get you. It is just like the movies and TV, Man of 1,000 Holds, except for one thing: you don't have a stunt double. I can't check out and tag out and have the stunt double come in. I can have my tag team partner taking all that. But yes, Joseph Rodriguez, when you watch AEW, you're much more entertained. I don't know if it's the pacing of the show, if it's the fact that they get you invested in their product, or what it is that comes across better. But the WWE comes across more drawn out, slower. Everything's kind of slower than what AEW is. AEW starts fast and it kind of picks up from there. And I thought tonight was a superb show leading into the pay-per-view in Orlando this Sunday. So it's going to be, they set you up good going off the air with Adam Page, Adam Cole, knocking Adam Page, tying him to the ropes and all that stuff there. So, and I thought the MJF CM Punk was superb. Dog collar match. I know somebody on Twitter hit me up and was like, they let the heels have too much to say, or let the heels run roughshod on the baby faces. But here's the one thing with this feud is I think with that dog collar match, they got exactly what they needed with that segment, right? It was like CM Punk being the baby face, apologizing, MJF being the heel and turning on him. You could see it coming a mile away, and then bloodied him up and set it up. You're going into a dog collar match. You're going to have a dog collar on you and a dog collar on your opponent. This isn't a match where, you're going in and you're shaking hands at the beginning of the match and everything else. I thought they did it very well because now Punk's going to be out for blood because of what happened on the show tonight. And that's what they needed to do. They needed to get this match set up to where when they get in there, they just want to take each other out. That's what you want to do in a dog collar match. One of the greatest dog collar matches of all time, Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine. If anybody knows Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. If you watch that, and one of the greatest dog collar matches of all time. I think Greg Valentine was hit in the ear so many times. Let's see. Do you think the blood for the sake of blood is not necessary? Save it for the payoff. I think if you're building to something, I think the blood is good, but blood for the sake of blood is dumb. It takes away also from the thing. But I think the fact that, in this instance, I'm going to use this instance right now. MJF bloodied up CM Punk. He got first blood, right? So now when they get in the match, CM Punk is, and the fans are going to want it as well. They're going to want him to tear up MJF and have him bleeding from everywhere to everywhere. If you're bleeding just to bleed, or especially on TV, like I think in AEW sometimes too much blood sometimes for what they're doing. Every match doesn't have to have blood. When they're doing the steel cage matches, they're doing every chair shot, everything was blood. And I thought sometimes, as you're saying there, Mike, it did go blood for the sake of blood. And that there just, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you look at, again, the payoff. What is the payoff? I think sometimes they're bled all the way up, and they did those the arena battles when the COVID thing was going on, where they fought all through the stadium there and everything else, and nobody bled, but the whole way leading up to it, everybody was busted open. And then they got to the match where I thought you should have the blood because you have all the weapons and you have everything else, and nothing. So I think you have to make it make sense to me. To me, this is my personal opinion, is the payoff was always that. Ric Flair, right? Every time he would get everybody all fired up. I mean, they broke Ricky Morton's nose, and then what was the payoff? Ricky Morton went out there, came this close to winning the title, beat Flair from front of the building to the back of the building, back everything, back in the ring, and then he pulled off the victory, Ric Flair, at the end. But again, there's payoffs there. You don't have to necessarily win, but I think the blood has to have meaning. It can't just be like, oh, hey, I got hit with a chair. Okay, I'm bleeding. Hey, I got thrown through glass. Okay, I'm bleeding. I just think, like you said, for the sake of blood, it's just not there. But the Punk MJF kind of, what it reminded me too of was the WrestleMania when Shawn Michaels beat Chris Jericho. And Jericho went in and hugged him, and then turned around and just kicked him below the belt, right? And that's when I first saw what was going on. I was like, okay. And yes, you did see the seeds, right, Mike? Yes. Did you see the part where Sean Spears is looking at the chair down as Wardlow's looking to the camera behind him? You can see Spears kind of look down at the chair, look at him, kind of look down at the chair, look at him, and then kind of when Wardlow turned around to look at him, then he left, and then Wardlow went up to the turnbuckles to celebrate. So, yeah, you're starting to see that seed there. I wish they wouldn't have brought him out, though, when MJF was doing the attack. I understand why they brought him out, because he's part of that faction, but I almost feel like at that point, like, you do something to where he missed something, whatever, he's late to the building or whatever, and then do something that way, because I think with this babyface turn as it's building up, I can't wait for it to happen, honestly. It's because right now he's I don't know, the only time he's really booed or thought of as a heel is really when he's with MJF, because when he comes out by himself, all they want him to see is powerbomb people, keep powerbombing people, one more, and he delivers. And what's funny is too, when he was first out, I was like, oh, here's another big guy, kind of. And then he started working, and I was like, you know what? This guy, he's pretty good. He's really pretty good. It's not just he's big and everything else. He's got some moves, and he uses it properly. Everything he does means something. That's one of the things I was talking about last night. There was a match on NXT, Lash Legend and Amari Miller, where Amari Miller was injured during the match. But one of the things I didn't understand was Lash Legend was so much bigger than the opponent, picked her up, body slammed her, and then picked her back up again. If you just picked her up and you threw her down, you're so much bigger than her. Why bring her back up? Why not keep her on the ground? And then she went and did some big elbow drop and took herself. The big person took themselves off of their feet. Go back and look at Andre the Giant. Go back and look at King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd. Those guys ain't dropping elbows. Those guys were just hitting, clobbering, punching, big boots. That's all he did. Andre would butt you in the corner. Wardlow, yeah, I can see that. 100% it's there. And also, I think the one thing too that adds to this is Wardlow is a little more athletic than I think Kevin Nash is. Nash had some knee issues and back issues. Wardlow looks pretty damn healthy. So those two going at it could be a good key to success in the future for AEW, especially, Wardlow. I think Wardlow could end up being one of the faces of AEW. Again, WWE, I know I've been told and I've read through things that say WWE very interested in Wardlow and MJF. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes, because again, these guys got their chance because of AEW. Do they stay? Do they go? The Revolution pay-per-view is going to be Sunday. So, again, you're going to watch, and I think I'm going to come on a little bit before the pay-per-view, maybe do a pre-game, get you set up, a pre-show before the pre-show, and go over it. But I can tell you now, I'll give you two things to think about. Wardlow Cage main event. Yeah. Brian Cage you're talking about, I'm hoping, right? Not Christian Cage, right? Brian Cage, who just got his contract extended. The AEW did not, they were not going to let his contract expire. They picked up the option. What's up, Cap for Life? Buddy, how you doing, my man? Talking a little AEW here. Two things to look at on the pay-per-view. One is this. In the triple threat tag team match, I am thinking Adam Cole gets involved and helps Red Dragon win, somehow costing the Young Bucks. And then I think in the main event, Kenny Omega returns. And I think you start seeing, the Elite against the Undisputed Era. I don't think they can use Undisputed Era, but I think you'll have those three going at each other. And remember, AEW wants to bring in a trios championship. I think you're going to ultimately see somehow it leading up to being, Cole and Red Dragon versus Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in a finals for the trios title. And I think that's going to start being, again, the one thing AEW does is they plant seeds now for something that could happen 4 or 5 months down the road. So I think everything I've been told was that Kenny Omega is healthier now. I don't know if he can ever be 100% healthy because of the wear and tear, but I wonder if they start rolling out some of that now to start planting that seed for the trios title, because that trios title, Tony Khan, I think, was on a podcast and said, he didn't want to start it until Omega was back. So there's something to do with that there. So I think that's one of the big things to look at during this pay-per-view. And now, since Kenny Omega did purchase Ring of Honor, do any of those talent show up in the Revolution pay-per-view? Do they end up being involved somehow? And I'm sorry, I'm watching the Heat game, and the Heat just lost on the final second. So it is, Steven. It's all about the long-term booking. And that's what keeps everybody involved, right? That's one of the things that you see with AEW. Maybe it's one of the things that I keep try to put my finger on the pulse of why AEW gets so much of that 18 to 35 demographic, and I think it's because it's geared toward them. AEW is geared toward them. I talked about it a little bit today, when I came on after Big O, and WWE terms it more for the kids, but also I think one of the things is I think WWE, I'm sorry, has gotten a little lazy, and this is why I'm saying this. When you purchase Peacock, you purchase every WWE pay-per-view. WWE doesn't have to go out there and burn the building down for you to buy their pay-per-view. You already get it for $9.99 a month. They don't have to do, whereas AEW, to get you to purchase the pay-per-view for $39.99 or $49.99, depending on where you're looking at it from, they have got to do week in and week out what they did this week to get you to purchase and spend $50 to watch a pay-per-view. And you see that on your TV screens every week. Whereas WWE, we already know you're going to tune in. You give us $9.99 a month or $4.99 a month, depending on where you're at on Peacock. So I think they've gotten a little bit lazy. I hope to see FTR versus the Briscoes soon. Yeah. I think the Hardys are taking on the Briscoes soon as well. In one of the federations. I think it's up north in the Northeast somewhere. Stephen Troutpiece, this is my thing about WWE. They put all their eggs with Roman and haven't really booked any other talent at his level. But also, it's a two-way street too, though. You have to get the talent there to, not that the talent doesn't work hard, because they do. But one of the things also is that, look, man, Roman's got it. Roman looks the part. Roman talks the part. Roman has it. I thought Big E did well with the title. But there were some things, again, it goes back to when you're the champion, and Barney O, what's up, my man? When you're the champion, you're the face of the company. So if the company's not selling well at houses, it's nobody else's fault but yours. You're the main event. You are the one supposed to be bringing in the asses and putting them in the seats. They're not there to watch that first match. They're not there to watch something else. It all falls on whoever is the champion or the face of that company at that time. WWE getting Saudi money in 2 shows is more. Yeah, they get $110 million in 2 shows in Saudi. It's $55 million a year. It equates down to, it was $550,000 for 10 shows over 5 years. Is what they got from the Saudi deal. Yeah. Yep. No, 100%. And that's also, but again, one of the things that I talk about with WWE is they have gone from being a wrestling company to being an entertainment company. They do a lot more than just wrestling now. That's why it's WWE, right? World Wrestling Entertainment. Whereas AEW is all elite wrestling. Andres Orozco doing good, my man. So that's one of the things is AEW is a wrestling company. World Wrestling Entertainment is an entertainment company. So again, you look at what goes on there. I'm waiting for AEW. They're starting to go to Detroit now. They're going to larger stadiums, 17,000 seat Forum, the Forum in Los Angeles. And one of the things is it's going to be interesting to see if they sell it out. They're going to be in LA at the Forum. Can they sell it out? That's going to be the thing. And you're right, Mike. It is one of the things that people forget, that it's a business, man. It's a cutthroat business. It is a very cutthroat business. If you're not doing what they want you to do or what they think they want you to do, they'll cut you. They'll cut you. Their contracts are just, here you go. And then when they cut you, you got to wait 90 days. You get your guaranteed for 90 days, and then you can go. But until that, you can't do anything. You sit at home for a 90-day no-compete clause. What was the thing with Pat McAfee real? I forget the wrestler he was beefing with, but I wanted to see him beat the crap out of Pat McAfee. I know it's old, but just wondering. Oh, it was Adam Cole. It was Adam Cole. And let me tell you something, man. Pat McAfee surprised the shit out of me. Really did. I mean, I know he's athletic. I get it. I know a football player and all this stuff, but the man can go. He can hold his own. And there's a lot of talk now because the word on the street is that Vince McMahon wants to go into WrestleMania in a match, and supposedly tomorrow he'll be on the Pat McAfee show. And there was the supposed rumors is that they're going to start something to go toward WrestleMania. I hope that it's wrong. I don't want to see a 77-year-old man go into the ring against Pat McAfee. Nothing against Pat McAfee, but Vince McMahon needs to go in with a guy that can work and can hold his own. I mean, McAfee can hold his own, but he can't work. He doesn't understand the workings of the match. And yes, Corey Graves has been cleared to wrestle again. And they also did a YouTube series now with him and Carmella. And I think you're going to ultimately see Corey Graves be held out. But I think as that YouTube show progresses, you're going to see Corey and Carmella become an on-screen couple as well as the off-screen couple. I think this YouTube series is to build this up and make it, which is why some of it's a little bit more edgier than what you would see on TV. So I am thinking that it's going to be the lead up to Corey Graves returning to the ring, possibly. And again, maybe I love Corey Graves as an announcer. I've seen him in the ring and he can work, he can go. But since he's been out, I've really liked him doing the announcing. Miz is Logan Paul, right? Logan Paul and Miz against the Mysterios at WrestleMania. This WrestleMania, again, 2 nights, you're going to have a lot of star power. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do the star power. If they get everybody they're talking about now, okay? Right now, Logan Paul is the only one that's truly inked in as of right now. And of course, Roman against Brock Lesnar, cap for life. So I missed the news. What's the big announcement? What's going to happen? Oh, TBS with AEW or Khan. It was Tony Khan's announcement that he had purchased Ring of Honor. He now owns Ring of Honor, all their intellectual properties, their video library, which dates back to 2002, which is probably one of the more amazing libraries when you look back at it, because back then you had a young CM Punk, you had a young Bryan Danielson, you had a young Sami Zayn, you had a young Kevin Owens, you had Tyler Black, who was better known as Seth Rollins, you had Jon Moxley, you had Cesaro, you had so many people coming from Ring of Honor or going to Ring of Honor that it's going to be very interesting to see how they will do this. I think you're going to end up going to, like I was talking earlier at the beginning, probably a streaming service not too far off in the future for AEW now with this library. You got to start making some money off this stuff. You got to start making some money off this stuff. I like Goldust. He was epic and a very good. Yeah, Dustin Rhodes is phenomenal. I mean, he was the natural Dustin Rhodes for so long. And some people forget that he could work. In the WWE Attitude Era, was the blood on the forehead legit? I've always wanted to know that. Yes, it is. Samoa Joe also Ring of Honor. Yes. Yeah, there was so much talent that you see today. Roderick Strong also Ring of Honor. Again, and all that. I mean, your Adam Coles, all those guys went through Ring of Honor at some point. When you look at the talent that went through there in this video library from man, it's going to be amazing, because you also got the guys that are now out there. You got John Gresham. I mean, if you haven't watched him or been able to see him yet, I'm hoping he gets to AEW. I know he was, or at least there was rumors that he was backstage at one of the shows maybe it was getting ready for this announcement and then also to start bringing him up to speed. But I would love to see him on AEW. I would love to see him work with some of these guys. Jay Lethal, who is already in AEW, he's with Ring of Honor. Barney O, yes, man, sir. Just stopping to support. Respect, bro. See ya. Dustin and Kendall Windham, Championship Wrestling from Florida before Dustin was in WCW. Yeah. No, dude, back then you had what? It was Blackjack Mulligan, Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham, Kendall Windham. I remember Scott McGee, Tyree Pride. You had Mike Graham. Oh, man, so many guys back then. Jack Hart, who became Barry Horowitz. You had a lot of guys. Kevin Sullivan, of course, Purple Haze, Bob Roop, who became Maha Singh. You had so much talent that went through. And again, that was the territories back then. In the day, they would go, you had the Freebirds go through Florida as well. One of my things on YouTube is it's called 106 North Albany. It's a YouTube channel, and it's all old championship wrestling from Florida. And, this week they released Dusty Rhodes against the One Man Gang and all those. And it's the old championship wrestling from Florida days and the shows that you used to see on Saturday mornings for me. Saturday mornings at 9 here. And at the time I was up in Fort Lauderdale. So, it's, man, yeah, the Haitian sensation, Tyree Pride, man. Love them guys. Brickhouse Brown, Sweet Brown Sugar. You had all those guys that was there back in the days. Even Lex Luger, that's where he got his start. Ron Simmons, Dewey Forte was another guy. He didn't get the look as much. I think he got hurt right before Ron Simmons and Luger took off out of Florida and went to, WCW and then I'll never forget. Now you hear the stories now with Lex Luger with Bruiser Brody, where Luger just climbed out of the cage and wouldn't fight Brody because he didn't want to be locked in the cage with him. Brody, R.I.P. But man, dude, it's wrestling it's addicting, man. If it's shown properly, it's something that you can definitely, you fall in love with wrestling, man. You can. You can lose, a little bit of reality and go with it and just, watch it for what it is, entertainment. Don't sit there. I watch on Twitter sometimes, and you have guys that just break everything down from everything, and it's like, oh my goodness, please stop, man. Why? Watch it for what it is. I had a bunch of wrestling names, man. Yeah, he did break the Gang's leg. Yep. Oh, Mike, you do subscribe to? Okay. Yeah, he breaks Gang's leg. Yep. Yeah, Hero trained them, and he didn't really wise him up. Yeah, Bruiser Brody was a little. Yeah, well, he knew what he was. He knew his value as a worker, and you were either going to step your game up, or he was going to step you out. He knew what he was worth, and that's one of the things I've heard about. Brody never got a chance to meet him or anything like that. But when you see the stories and you talk to people that worked with him, he wasn't that tough to work with. He knew what he needed to do to make Bruiser Brody elevate. And if you weren't part of that plan, you were going to get elevated your ass right on out of there. Go back to Andres' question, wrestling names. I started out as Tank Morgan. Then I became Psycho Sean Allen. Then I went into the American Taliban with the Syrian Slasher. I did that tag team. Then I became a part of a tag team called the Blackhearts, which is a masked tag team gimmick. And then I became the Sean Allen. And that's kind of the entrance that you saw there. That was one of my final entrances that you see on the lead into today. Kayfabe, dying, hurt, also the internet dirt sheets. Yeah, I mean, the internet changed wrestling, good and bad. The internet changed wrestling from the fact that, you can, you used to be able to surprise people. You'd fly guys in early morning, get them to the arena early. Now you've got people staked at the airport, taking pictures of anybody that walks in, especially if it's a big show. I guarantee you during, Orlando this week, you're going to see pictures of anybody that shows up during WrestleMania weekend. They're staged at the airports there in Dallas or wherever. I mean, hell, what was it? The Hardys, they ended up flying into, I think, a separate airport and then drove them up to the arena after the show had started to be the surprise at that WrestleMania when they came back. And again, that's what you have to do these days to surprise, because there's really nothing that's not. And then there's so many podcasts out now that usually, you know, people you can read into, but also it's another thing to where if you work it right, Matt Hardy, Matt Cardona, social media becomes a plus for you as a promotional and a marketing tool to get your message out. And I think AEW does a great job with what they do with the internet. I think they get out what they need to get out. And again, you also there's insiders that are also releasing some of this information. It's like football, it's like baseball, it's like everything. You got certain people inside that in the know that will push a little, to somebody that they know, and then you get that out, all of a sudden a story comes out, or you've got, it's just like also like football and media too as well. You got people that's going to throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, see what gets picked up. I love listening to Eric Bischoff's podcast, 83 Weeks. Cornette, I listen to him. Fightful, I talked about Fightful Select. I love all the stuff they do there. When you get those, they've got a lot of the information. You start, hearing a lot of the stories of the old things. I love the shoot interviews. I'll sit on YouTube. I mean, I've got VHS tapes here of the shoot interviews with Sid, going back in Mick Foley, Eddie. I think one is Eddie Gilbert. I think I have one of Eddie Gilbert as well. Those Road Warriors. I've got the Road Warriors as well. Just hearing them talk of stories, or even some things maybe they play down, like, no, that's not what happened, or this is what actually happened. And then again, you got this side of the story, you've got this side of the story, and then you've got the truth. There's always three sides of the story, especially in wrestling, because it's, believe, half of what you see and nothing of what you hear in pro wrestling. That's usually the best way to go about it, to try to understand and to know what's going on there. Got a couple more minutes here. Let me see. Andres agreed, Sean, before the internet, wrestling was more surprising, had a really good plot and a lot of uncertainty. That's what made it addicting. You never knew what you ever going to get on Monday Raw. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, but also I think the internet has put more eyes on the product as well. So, I mean, while I agree with you, that there's no really surprises anymore, you'll still get the occasional, oh, I didn't expect that, or here or there. Yeah, you don't get it like you did back then, but I mean, back then you didn't have anything. It was a phone, it was a beeper. I mean, social media was starting to. Well, we already have MySpace pages at certain parts down there. I mean, when you started, I remember when I first started in there, it was like, that's MySpace. The Facebook started coming up, and that's how you're kind of promoting yourself to get bookings and things like that. You make a page for yourself, and you're trying to get booked. You make tapes. You're sending out VHS tapes, CDs at that time, also out to people. It was a lot different. Nowadays, you just throw your stuff on YouTube and boom. All you gotta do is send the link to that YouTube and done. Oh, I had to take stuff from a VHS tape that was recorded, put it to a CD, and then send that CD, out to anybody that I wanted to try to see. One thing about kayfabe that I love is the fact that Kevin Sullivan 5'8" can go toe to toe with Blackjack Mulligan. Love it. But Kevin Sullivan was 5'8", but yeah, people don't know he was a bodybuilder, man. I love me some Kevin Sullivan. I got to fight him at a Comic-Con, and dude, we fought everywhere. We went outside, and the promoter was like, "Please take it back to the ring. Please take it back inside. Please take it back inside." Because people were following us. We were throwing trash cans. We were hitting each other with everything. And dude, I was loving every minute of it. To get in the ring, I was on a card in Davie, Florida, the Davie Rodeo Arena, where it was Dusty Rhodes versus Kevin Sullivan versus Terry Funk versus Abdul the Butcher. I was on that card, and we all got to run in and get hit by them. And that was a dream. Again, you're in there with legends. I don't care that I just took, a chair shot from, Terry Funk or Kevin Sullivan. I just went in and get hit and leave. I don't remember what was there. Which one, Andres? A segment between DX versus NWO. Are you talking about at the WrestleMania when they did the whole? It was Sting against Triple H, and then DX came out to help Triple H, and NWO came down to help out Sting. I think that was during a WrestleMania in California. Was that in California? I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. A segment between DX and NWO. Not 100% sure, Andres. On that one, you got me there. We got about 5 more minutes. I'm gonna be on here. So if you got questions, get them in. And want to thank everybody again. Yeah, Levi Stadium. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was it. Yep. Yes, that was again. Those are the moments at WrestleMania where you get those moments. Those are the moments that you hope to get at WrestleMania. I remember The Rock and Ronda Rousey with Triple H and Stephanie. That one time when Rock was like, "I don't hit women, but I'm sure I can find somebody that will take care of it for me." And he went out and he got Ronda Rousey. She jumped the railing, and now the rest has been history. I mean, you always get those little moments. I was at I think it was Pro Player Stadium at the time. I don't think it was Hard Rock yet. I think it was Pro Player at the time, and it was The Rock against Cena the first time when The Rock won the title. But I thought one of the things that went underneath the radar was the first match, which was Bryan Danielson against Sheamus. It was Sheamus with the brogue kick at the very beginning to start the match, to start the whole night. And the night just went from there. And then you still had the end of the era match with Triple H and Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. And you had so much there, but it's just the energies at those WrestleManias is amazing. And will it get that back? I don't know. I thought there was a great moment last year when Bianca and Sasha main evented and Bianca, got the belt. I thought that was a great moment for her, for women's wrestling. There's little things that happen. Kofi winning the title at WrestleMania. Those are things that, you remember more than Alexander News show. Do you think AEW can overtake WWE? Alexander talked a little bit about this today, and overtake. What do you mean by overtake? Like run WWF out of business? Because that's almost what it's really going to take. Because right now, let me just show you. Talked about today on the ratings. Okay, just look at the ratings. SmackDown is on Fox, which is a channel anybody pretty much in the U.S. can get, I believe. Any household can get Fox. Okay. Then you have NBC Universal, which has Raw and NXT. Then you have AEW that's on Turner Broadcasting, which is TBS and TNT. When you look at the Friday show, I don't even count that because most of the time it's recorded. You already know the results, so people don't really tune in that. I think they've drawn 500, 600,000 eyes to Rampage. SmackDown's drawing between a 2.1 and a 2.3, depending on what's going on. So when you look at those numbers, and I don't count Fox because any household could have Fox. What I look at is the NBC Universal versus Turner Broadcasting. And right now, Raw, even as bad as I think some of it has been, and not the talent, the storyline to hook me into watching 3 hours of TV, it, to me, is not that good. They're still getting 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. AEW, it's going to be interesting to see what they are this week. They were down at 800,000. Then they went up to 1 million. Then they went down to 900,000. Last week, they're at 1.01. So they're about 500,000 households on the ratings war. Now, in demographics, they are winning the 18 to 35. One of the key demographics, they are winning when you look at that. But again, WWE gears its product toward the younger audience because that forces them to bring their families. And when you bring the more families, guess what you're doing? You're buying 4 meals. You're buying 4 different t-shirts. You're buying all this stuff that you end up spending more money. So in the long run, you're making more money in WWE. WWE's making more money. So can they overtake them? Never say never in pro wrestling. But I don't think it's going to happen if it hasn't happened so far. I mean, think about it. They've had CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, all the guys coming in right now. You've got all their signings recently. Malachi Black, Buddy Murphy, however you want to look at them. None of them have moved the needle. You throw Brock Lesnar on a show, it jumps up. You say Roman Reigns is going to be on Raw next week, it jumps up. So will they overtake? I'll never say never, but they've got a long way to go. Now, is the product on TV better? I believe so. Yes. Yeah, I remember when 1.0 minute was in the toilet too. Yeah. Yep. It used to be 4.3 versus 3.9, 4.4 versus 4.1 during the Monday Night Wars. I mean, you were looking at all eyes were on wrestling at the time. AEW could in the future get a big TV deal. They can, but they've got to show ratings, man. And I get it. 1 million is great for TVS. But does Fox give you a multi-million-dollar deal for 1 million views? No, they get that on every program. I mean, they're not happy with SmackDown right now. They're not happy with the 2.1, 2.2s. They're not happy with that. Just like they're probably going to try to rework some of those TV deals. The money they're giving out with what they're getting in, hey, it's return on investment. That's when you work your TV deals. And I think, I'm not going to say it's a bad product. It's right now a poorly constructed product. I'll tell you that much. The talent's there. The talent is there. It's getting the writing and the creativeness and maybe some people that will tell Vince, no, that's not a good idea, because that's lost right now. Your Pat Pattersons, your Blackjack Lanzas, those guys not there anymore. So Vince kind of free reigning it right now, and and then he took over NXT now, and I think NXT's gone down the toilet. And yeah, it's about storylines. It is about storylines because that's the entertainment part of it. All these guys are talented. All these guys and gals are talented. Can you put them in a position that makes them successful? And then also, they've got to understand their role in the process to take that step up. That's what I was talking earlier when they brought up about Roman Reigns, like, oh, and John Cena. Oh, they're pushing John Cena down the throat. John Cena knew and said, hey, give it to me. Give it to me. I want to be successful. Stone Cold, give it to me. I want to be the man. The Rock, give it to me. I want to be the man. All those guys, there's an ego involved in pro wrestling at some point. Nowadays it's not as bad because contracts are guaranteed and things like that. But back in the day, you got paid by where your match was. If you were in the main event, you got paid well. If you're on the bottom of the card, hey, here's your gas money. Things like that. So, back then it was a lot cutthroat. Everybody was a lot more, worked a lot harder, which is why I think you see AEW, those guys work hard. Why? Because they get paid by the buy rates of the, the money from the pay-per-views. They get paid from that stuff. They probably get a little bit of a piece of that. If they're on the pay-per-view, they probably get a percentage of the pay-per-views. That's what WWE used to do. They don't have to do that anymore because they got a set thing because of the deal with Peacock. So yeah, has WWE probably sat back and chilled a little bit too much? Probably. WWE needs to create major stars. I don't even know if they need to create major stars. They've got stars. They've got major stars. They've got to start using them properly and putting them in the right thing and not burying somebody because they don't like them that week. That's the other thing that I can't stand about WWE sometimes. It's like this guy's getting a push. He's won 10 weeks in a row. All of a sudden, he coughs wrong in a meeting or something, and now he's jobbing in 3 minutes to this guy, and he loses for the next 3 weeks, and the 10 weeks you built him up has been shit on because you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or you didn't like the way he came through the gorilla position, or, you didn't like the way she did a move or the way she walked to the ring. I mean, that's where you look at AEW. And I go back to the Miro. I forget where he was at on an interview. And he said, hey, I went to Tony Khan and I said, what do you want? And he says, what are you going to do? These are the bullet points I want you to hit. The rest is up to you. Go. That's why these guys are developing so much. Your MJFs. Yeah, they're getting coached by your Jerichos, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, some of the other veterans that are in there. But they're also being able to be creative. If they make a mistake, hey, next time I wouldn't do that. They're taught that way. Not, hey, you made that mistake. Oh, you're off TV for the next 4 weeks. See you later. Go home. That just doesn't work. It's not a good working condition. It goes back to booking them. I'm thinking, why not continue Undertaker character like Undertaker's son, have original Undertaker verse? Dude, I don't look, man. There's only one Undertaker. Do you think you could honestly get somebody else that could carry that on? And then would you want, I think Scott Steiner owns the Steiner name, but I've heard that Braun Breaker even said he didn't want to have the Steiner name because of you get compared to those guys, man. Some guys can handle it. Randy Orton can handle it, and some guys can't. Ted DiBiase Jr., bless him. He went back out to his, to making a great living. He made the documentary for his dad and everything else like that. But wrestling wasn't in the cards for him. It won't change until Vince retires. Vince ain't retiring, I don't think, anytime soon, man. Honestly, I don't. I hear that every time, and I just do not see that happening. Sean, favorite tag team. Favorite tag team all time, favorite tag team today, favorite, which way you want to go with this? Andres, let me know which way. I think they're finally pushing Ricochet. Mike, I read a story today that he's going to be the number 2 babyface on Raw behind Drew McIntyre, and I was reading it, and the more I read about it, I was like, wait a minute, so if he's the number 2 babyface behind Drew McIntyre, isn't Brock Lesnar on Raw? Isn't some of these other guys on all time would be probably Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Probably would be my all-time favorite. I love the technical side of wrestling. Midnight Express. I mean, dude, FTR are like my soul animals, man. They look at that stuff just like I do. I love the Midnight Express. I love the Rock and Roll Express. I loved all the old NWA tag teams where the tag team meant something, right? If you were the heel tag team, you cheated, you got away with it, you had your Cornette, your managers, all that, all the little things, the little attention to details in tag team matches that you see today with FTR is one of the things there. Highly abread, one favorite wrestler from the 80s, 90s, zeros, and 10s. Okay, 80s, dude. I mean, the guy that made me love wrestling to be Dusty Rhodes. 90s. The Rock would probably be 2000s, I think. Maybe late 90s. The Rock would probably be there. I love Chris Benoit as well. I know that's a name that you can't speak of. As a performer, as a wrestler, dude, I loved everything, all the things, the guys that do things that mean something. Everything you do has meaning. That those are the guys that I love. Dean Malenko, those guys. Every time he did something, it was a setup to lead into something else. SmackDown Ricochet is on. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, 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 yes. You are 100% correct, Mike. Thank you. Thank you. That's right. He did go to SmackDown. I was thinking he was on Raw, but that's right. McIntyre's on SmackDown. Man, I totally blew that one up. Thank you for that correction there. Dream Team. Uh, one of the things is that's funny. Um, like tonight in the Battle Royal, because somebody was talking about this the other day. I can't remember. I think it was on the Raw or the NXT one. Was like how they just throw them together. I think it was the Raw one, because Raw, they kind of just throw guys in as a tag team. But then when you watched AEW tonight, every team was a team. You had the Best Friends, you had FTR, you had the Young Bucks, you had Top Flight, you had Dark Order, you had everybody was a team. It wasn't, hey, here's Randy Orton and Riddle, like, and I get it. Those two have gelled, and it became probably one of the top draws for them on Raw. But it's not just throwing guys together. When you watch that tag team battle royal, the Gun Club, you had all these guys that were actual tag teams. It wasn't just two guys, just, hey, here's your partner, congratulations going out to the ring tonight, because we don't have anything else to do, so you two are gonna have to team up, and good luck. Let's become something. Okay, go get same colored tights or whatever, and look like a team. Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it. You saw tag teams that were, oh no, the Fantastics were great. You had the Fabulous ones, Steve Keirn and Stan Lane, before Stan Lane became part of, you look back in those days. You had the Freebirds. The tag teams back then, dude, I love the Fantastics. Bobby Fulton, Tommy Rogers. Ugh, what? At the one time, the Mid-Atlantic, NWA, whatever you want to call it at that time, they had one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Demolition. Yeah, yeah. Dude, when you looked at what they were, they were Demolition. It was Axe Smash, and then you brought in Crush at the end. I think they were at their best when it was Axe and Smash. But you had to have the Repo Man, right? So you had to get rid of Smash. So you had to bring in the Repo Man. No, I think they were, I don't know, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But again, when everybody says greatest, the way I look at it is, that's who you like. That's your style of wrestling. That's what. So I always say, like, when everybody gets on, like, oh, that can't be your favorite guy. That guy doesn't belong up there. Dude, it's pro wrestling, man. If I want to have Hulk Hogan at the top of my list, he's at the top of my list. You got Stone Cold, you've got, whatever. Everybody's gonna be different. That's the thing. It's just like sports, man. That's why it's sports entertainment. Everybody's got a different opinion, a different style, a different genre of wrestling that you like. Dude, so be it. Like I said earlier, my daughter, she loves the Adam Coles, Johnny Garganos, all those guys. That's her thing. Favorite entrance, Taker on the Harley, was badass. Goldberg felt like a boxing match. Yeah. Yeah, but I think favorite entrance. Man. That's a good one. I gotta try to think back. Undertaker's always going to be up there, regardless of whether it was the Harley entrance or his normal entrance. I thought when Dustin went to WCW, I don't know if you ever saw this one. He came in as 7, and it was a guy. They painted his face all white. On the thing, he even said, "You make me look like Uncle Fester," on here. And they had him on this some kind of platform that made it look like he was floating to the ring, and the smoke was all around him. And then he got down there and he did a shoot interview. Oh, Gangrel's entrance also. Yeah, the Brood's entrance was badass regardless. A lot of those entrances back then, I'm trying to think of, like, I thought John Cena, I don't know if you saw the one entrance when They had the one where everybody was dressed like him, and then he also had the one entrance where he drove the car in through the arena. I thought Miro, or at the time Rusev, when he came in on the tank, thought that was good. I love the staged choreographed entrances. I like Sting's entrance at Levi Stadium. I wish they would have probably done it maybe at night as it got darker. But of course, Eddie's Lowriders, that's always a good one. Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors are the best tag teams of all time. Do you agree? I'm not going to argue that. I think they are two of the best. I think you've got the Midnight Express. I think you've got Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard up there. If you want to call them the Brain Busters, whatever you want to call them, I think they're up there. Switch over to the WWE side. You got the Steiners. For all you want, I mean, there's so many tag teams when you look back. Demolition was brought up earlier. That's a great one there. There's a lot of great tag teams. There's so many great tag teams that I don't think you can sit here and say, it's just like it's everybody's preference. You can't say that, oh no, that's not one of the greatest tag teams. Dude, the Road Warriors changed. The Road Warriors changed wrestling, man. When they came in and they ran roughshod over everybody for so long, and then they finally, they changed it. Rock and Roll Express was always, Ricky Morton getting his ass whooped and Robert Gibson coming in and making the save. Powers of Pain, yeah. I mean, you had those big tag teams back then. Samoan SWAT team, you had the Samoans. I mean, you had some tag teams back then. If you want to go back further, Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito. I mean, dude, Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson. I mean, you had some good tag teams. They weren't tag team long, but two athletic guys thrown together, and they ended up beating I believe it was Samoans for the tag team titles. I mean, dude, there's some good tag teams. HBK was, yeah. I mean, I heard he was an ass, and he's even said himself, to the boys and stuff. But he got through all that. But you can't take away his accolades in the ring and what he's doing now with HBK WrestleMania 12. That's where he came from the top of the building down, right? That was the Iron Man match with Bret Hart. Yeah, the Mega Powers. Yeah, you had Hogan and Savage. Yeah. And he also did what was it? What did Beefcake and Hogan call themselves? The Mega Maniacs or something, I think it was. At that time, that was Beefcake and Hogan. Yeah, I mean, Andre and Haku. That was a good tag team. Uh-oh, Barney-O, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? What? What, Barney-O? I'm trying to wait to see if he answers back, but we'll see. But I mean, again, when you look at wrestling, it's so. I miss the old day. Yeah, I still tune in here and there, but yeah, no, dude, I could sit here and just talk. I used to watch CBS Saturday Night every Saturday night. The Funks versus the Briscoes in the 70s. Yeah, the Can-Am Connection. Yeah, it's Can-Am. That was Tom Zink and Rick Martel. And then you also had, what was Tito Santana and Rick Martel? Wasn't it Tito Santana and Rick Martel at one point had something, but Tom Zink and Rick Martel was the Can-Am Connection. You had Brian Pillman and Steve Austin. They were pretty good as a tag team, the Hollywood Blondes. So, I mean, dude, you could go on and on. You just brought the Funks, the Briscoes. Wasn't even thinking that far back. I guess I was when I said Fuji and Saito, but, man, you think of the tag teams that was down. Sean, it's all about the storylines. WWE has bad screenwriters, and WWE gets a new star, and then they ruin them. I think one thing that's funny is that WWE story screenwriters they get them from TV. They don't know much about the wrestling business. Tony the Von Erichs, yes, 100% agree. Family was snake bitten though, but yes, the Von Erichs. For some reason, they go to the TV screenwriters because they want it written as a TV show, but they don't understand wrestling. And I think you got to have that fine line because I think you have to have somebody being able to translate to the talent what they want to come across. Because if the talent goes out there and it sounds like they're not believing what they're saying, that's what's going to come across. And sometimes I think that's what happens in WWE. Is you got these guys going out here and they're talking all this stuff about stuff they don't know about. I mean, they're saying, one of the references, they try to do pop culture references. They try to get, little digs at certain things that's going on. You can tell who knows stuff and who doesn't know what's going on. Strike Force. That was Tito Santana and Rick Martel. Strike Force. That is, I believe Strike Force. That was Santana and Martel, right? Did you say Bret Hart is about to wrestle HBK, or did they misunderstand you? No, Bret Hart wrestled HBK at WrestleMania 12 in an Iron Man match, and that was with the entrance. I believe it was Hialeah Bread was talking about where he came down from. He was on the pulley system, and he came down from the roof, landed in the crowd, and then they went on for that Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. No, Bret Hart is not going to be wrestling HBK anytime soon, man. Hey, but everybody, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate your support. And we'll be back. It will be Friday. We're going to do it right after SmackDown. We'll talk a little more wrestling, and then Sunday afternoon we will come on right before the pay-per-view, and we'll go over a little bit of the pay-per-view, give you some ideas on some of the results that I think is going to happen, and everything else. I want to thank everybody that has been on here. Andres, Hialeah Bread, Mike, Barney, Tony, Alexander, everybody that's tuned in, and so much appreciation, man, for all you guys spending a little bit of your evening with me. And as I always say, like the great Gordon Soley always said, so long from the Sunshine State.